Hi, I'm Clariza. I've been in Cebu's theater scene for about 6 years now, and my last role was Shelby Eatonton Latchery in Steel Magnolias. I realized I had a flair for the performing arts. Looking back, I realized it was back when I was still in kindergarten, even, still in school. I would frequently be on stage singing the national anthem or performing a skit. My real first brush with musical theater was in first grade back at my school, St. Mary's Academy in Cagayan. They did a performance of Once on This Island. On the day of the performance, I had a fever. Very, very high fever, but then I told my mom to give me medicine so that we could still make it to the performance. And it was worth it. I didn't know it was called Once on This Island at the time. I just, 5-10 years later, I had this song in my head from that performance, and then I thought, what's the title of this song? And I looked it up, found Once on This Island, and that started the rabbit hole where I got back into theater. Growing up, I would be a part of the drama club and again take part in these skits at school. So from the very beginning, I was already pretty good with thinking on my feet, creating excuses on stage if something went wrong. I sort of fell out of the theater scene because it's not as strong as it is in Dubai. But when we got back to the Philippines, I joined the theater guild in my high school. So that was St. Louis College of Cebu. Unfortunately, like all other arts programs, it wasn't well funded and we barely had any exposure for theater in that school. I needed something more, and that's when I took my first theater workshop, which was with Reb Atadero with Little Boy Productions. It was 2017. I had just finished grade 11. That was in the summer. And by 2018, we were doing Miss Saigon with Broadway Youth Cebu. And 2019 was Les Mis. 2020, we did Anne Frank. And a few years later, 2023, we did Steel Magnolias. There's this sort of energy in theater that I can't get in the other performing arts. There's something so beautiful about the way you step into a role and you become that role as you perform. In singing, yes, there's also storytelling through song, but there's just something with acting that has come really naturally for me. What makes theater special is not just one memorable moment. It's like several little moments spread out in between during rehearsals, during tech week. It's those sorts of things. But if I were to say, I'll take Diary of Anne Frank, because in the Diary of Anne Frank, that was the first time I really got to shine in my own spotlight. It's sort of an ensemble cast, even though you have your main characters, which is the Frank family. You also have these other characters that are there on stage as well. That was one of my characters, which was Mrs. Von Dan. And she has this really long monologue that talks about their life before they had to go into hiding. And dealing with that monologue and actually finishing it and seeing the audience reactions from it, that was a very strong point in my theater career, because it was the first time I really got to own the stage and be my own, because I had always been in ensemble roles before. My favorite musical will always be Phantom of the Opera. And I don't care if I don't get the role of Christine Daae as long as I am part of the production in some way. Because whenever I feel down, whenever I think that maybe theater isn't for me, it just takes one rewatch of the Phantom of the Opera's 25th anniversary version at the Royal Albert Hall with Sierra Bogues, Ramin Karimloo, and Hadley Fraser to cure me out of all of that. And suddenly, I believe I have a future in theater again. The first thing an actor must do when they're preparing for a new role, obviously, it's read the script so you get a feel for the character. Second is research. You need to do as much research as you can on the character. What era is this happening in? How are these kinds of characters supposed to act in their social status? You develop your character, so think about how your character would look, how your character would act, how your character would think. Knowing how your character would think is really the most important of them all, because that is what saves you when something goes wrong on stage. Because when something goes wrong on stage, you have to react as your character, not how you would react as yourself. Next is asking for help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help when you're trying to develop your character. As you go through rehearsals, listen to your director. If you have questions, say, I don't understand why my character does this. If you're really having a hard time, there's really nothing wrong with asking. So allow your director to help you and lead you to the eventual conclusion of why this character will eventually perform this action. That happened when we did Steel Magnolias. By the beginning of Act 1, Scene 2, he wanted Shelby to kneel and take her mom's hand. But personally, for me, that didn't feel right, so I didn't do it throughout the whole rehearsal period. When we got to like a few days before the show was supposed to be, Sir Alan insisted that we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this. And I was like, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. But together, both directors, Sir Alan and Sir Vince, allowed me to see that this moment wasn't about Shelby. It was about her mom. It was about putting the spotlight on her mom instead of Shelby. So I eventually understood that, and through the rest of the show days, I had no problem of making it feel natural for me to kneel down and take her hand. I have been told several times that I work better as a character actor rather than one of those damsels in distress. I remember it was Miren, Jordana, and Sir Alan Nazareno who told me that I work better in those roles. I think it's because of my personality or because it's the craziness of it. There's just something so fun about being a completely different person. Being mean when you're actually really nice in real life. Being this flirtatious, very confident character. There's something about those roles that just really appealed to me, which is ironic because one of my dream roles on Broadway is actually Christine Daae, the most damsels in distress of them all. Turns out, straight plays are my thing, not really musicals. So I have to kiss those dreams of Christine Daae goodbye, but not today. Not today! There's something as an actor where you really want the main role, right? But so you audition for it, you believe you're gonna get it, but then turns out it's given to someone else. That is one form of rejection that will really hurt you as an actor because you really want a role, you feel like you're gonna get it, but then at the end you don't. You can cry about it a little, you can talk to your parents, I didn't get this role, I feel this way. And your parents have no choice but to assure you that it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But dealing with that rejection has helped me realize it's so much fun to be in the ensemble. When you're a newbie actor, you think lead role, lead role, lead role, lead role is good. But no, ensemble gives you so much more fun. There's less pressure on you because you're not always on the spotlight. You get to have more fun with your co-actors because you can think, hey, we're gonna be this character, we're gonna be this character, this is our relationship, and this is how we're gonna work it out while we are on the background of the scene. You get to bond with your actors even though you're not in the lead role. There are really characters that will better suit you, and the people in charge of casting know that. So if a role isn't given to you, it's for a good reason. You will shine better somewhere else. And that's what happened eventually with Daria Van Frank and Steel Magnolias. The whole 9 yards that has to be Shelby. Because Shelby and I share the same ideologies. We're similar in age. We have the same-ish personality, where if we want something, we will do whatever it takes. Whether it's good for us or not, who cares of the consequences? Principles aside, wanting children in the future aside, I really vibe with the way Shelby thinks, the way she acts, and how she treats the people around her. She was the most emotionally challenging role I had to take on so far because of her condition as a person living with diabetes. I was scared actually to portray someone with diabetes. I was afraid na I would focus so much on the technicals that people would say that's not how people with diabetes would act. What really helped me get through that is the preparation for the role. I always felt that there's something missing from this character. When she experiences a hypoglycemic attack, I had always thought that if you were undergoing a hypoglycemic attack, you just shut down, you just fall asleep. Consultations with someone who's also living with the same type of diabetes, Jerome, helped me realize that there are different ways that hypoglycemia shows in people. For Jerome, it was anger, like his mood would spike. On stage, I felt like that would add more urgency, add more to the scene. During our last rehearsal, that's what I did. I warned my co-actors beforehand. I was like, guys, I'm gonna go wild for this. Just be prepared. Some of them didn't expect how crazy it got. Liana particularly was like, oh, whoa. Because that was the first time I really raised my voice and started hitting things. That's when it clicked. The scene really needed something to push everyone into this sense of urgency. And that really helped a lot. Deciding to deal with Shelby wanting to have children, getting pregnant, and her complicated relationship with her mother, I was able to find a way of thinking that was all right with me as a person. And her relationship with her mom is actually similar to my relationship with my dad. This continuous frenemy, back and forth banter. Sometimes you hate each other, sometimes you love each other. You know, that sort of thing. Overcoming these challenges will really help you grow as an actor. And the way to do it is really doing your research and trusting the process, that in the end, you'll get there. I perform for the heck of it because I really do love performing. My advocacy working at Sunstar Cebu is promoting the local theater scene. I always do my best to ensure Cebu's theater scene is seen by the rest of the community, that it receives the publicity it deserves. While I'm on stage, I do not worry about such things. I really just perform. And maybe through that performance, I hope to help people realize certain emotions, to give them a cathartic release from the stresses of the world, because that's what theater is all about. For me, it's my way of overcoming the stresses of life, and I hope everyone who watches a theater production feels the same way, that they are plucked from reality and dropped in the middle of this new story that will help them get away from life for even just 2 hours, because isn't that what theater is all about? It only takes one step in the door with the right people before you are fully pulled into the theater scene. So all you need to do is take that one step. Just join one workshop with the right people, organizations such as Broadway Youth Cebu, Tutin Cans. One step in that direction, one step there, and you're good for the rest of your theater life. That's all it takes to enter the community. So you really have to set all your insecurities aside and decide that, yes, this is when I want to pursue my dream. And it's to infinity and beyond after that. Who knows where you'll go.